Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back. So, new archetype, and I kinda underestimated these guys. Tearalaments. Tearalaments, they are like a combination of Shaddolls, of Lightsworns as well, Burning Abyss, maybe Sword Soul, all in like one package. As you see, I'm running pretty much every Tearalement in the main deck, so that's 12, should be 12, yeah. 12 monsters in the main deck, some techs like Malicious, King of the Swamp as well, which is actually fantastic. You will see it in a couple of moments. The deck is not running too many hand traps. You don't really have too much space for hand traps, so that's a big weakness, I guess, especially in today's format. So I'm doing just triple Nibiru and triple Droplet. Keep in mind is that the biggest gimmick of this deck is that most of the monsters, other than the water one, being whatchamacallit, it's the Armageddonite. This one, Reinhardt, I believe the name is. Anyway, so it's a water type. Anyway, it's a warrior type as well. The gimmick of the deck is that all of the dark monsters, the Tearalement ones, when they are sent to the graveyard, they'll become a polymerization. So you can use the materials from your graveyard as well. So again, fantastic. And most of them have like a milling effect as well when they're like summoned, a card trooper effect. You'll see it in the examples. The first one, again, 3 examples of like the core combos of the deck. This one, very straightforward. The advantage of King of the Swamp is that, as you know, it can be used as a replacement for a material. So this archetype, again, is heavily focused on fusions. They have 2 in archetype fusion monsters. And short set, this is one setup you can definitely do a lot. Both Dragostaphilia, the left one, plus Kaliga, this combo makes it so that your opponent can only activate 1 monster effect, plus you'll negate that with Dragostaphilia, and then, your opponent can't activate any monster effects for the rest of the turn. So it's basically a true King of all calamities for your opponent. This combo has been online as well, on the internet, on YouTube as well, so it's not new. The second combo, again, the archetype. This is one of the OCG exclusive cards currently. It's Mare, I forgot its name. The one that, I normal summoned. Again, it's basically an Armageddonite as well, which extends into the fusion play, and, your level 5 fusion searches upon summon. Again, it's a free searcher. Plus, when it's sent to the graveyard, it mills 5. It mills 5. And, like in Lightsworns, in in Shaddolls as well, that's really broken. You saw that Malicious was quite strange, but the thing is that if you draw into Malicious or mill Malicious, you can go for this particular play, because again, you're able to allow, at least you're allowed to use materials in your graveyard as soon as one of your dark Tearalaments are sent to the graveyard, either by Foolish, Burialing, or whatever. So Beatrice gives you the capability or opportunity to send a material or one of your dark Tearalaments from your deck to the graveyard in order to kind of play during your opponent's turn, and you know how strong that is. So again, here have the Dragostaphilia for a monster negation, was able to go for the basic play of your level 5 Tearalement, the one that searches upon summon plus mills 5 if it's sent to the graveyard. The Continuous Trap is basically an effect failure for the deck. Send 1 Tearalement from your side of the field to the graveyard, the fusion, because you want to mill 5, and of course negate 1 monster from your opponent. Okay, some standard, some duels, some examples. The Mare here, again, basically an Armageddonite, not the in archetype Armageddonite, had access to Malicious, so I can go for the Beatrice play first. Reinhardt is sent, it's basically a Trick Clown, but it can only Trick Clown itself back to the field if you discard the Tearalement card. That's important. So one of the traps, for example, because their traps also work when they are like sent to the graveyard. One searches from the deck, one gets something back from the banished pile. You get the point, right? So totally awesome. Again, this deck also has access to Toad's Omni Negation for Imperm, and something I haven't mentioned yet. This archetype also has a very powerful field spell, very similar to the invoked field spell. So upon activation, it searches Alistair. Most of the time, it will be your Reinhardt, your Armageddonite. Plus, when you is it fusions? No, it's a Madolche-alike effect. If you fusion summon by sending the materials back to the deck or extra deck, you can pop a card from your opponent. So it's very similar to Madolche tickets, I think. Yeah, very similar. Right. So again, multiple interruptions. Again, Beatrice lets me send the material from my deck to the graveyard during the opponent's turn. So again, more fusion summons during their turn, and that just equals into your other boss monster. Is it level 8, level 9? I think it's level 9, the one here in the extra monster zone. It's basically very similar to, I believe it's Olinoides from Invoked. When he hits the board, you can pick one card from your opponent and send it back to the deck. That's fantastic. Plus, it also works when, again during both players' turns, when like, I believe it's an Aqua monster, when that one is sent to the graveyard, I believe, or a tier element, I believe something like that. You can, again, send something, a Phoenix Wing Blast, basically the card. And that's again quite powerful, because, I mean, you saw it. The deck has the capability to play during your opponent's turn, fusion summon multiple times. You might need some luck, again, the mills, right? But, I mean, you're milling so many cards that you're just, the chances of you milling at least one name is just so high. And very similar, and that's something I haven't mentioned yet as well, this deck is not that easy to pick up. Also, their fusion effects also work only once per turn, so it's very similar to the Dragon Rulers. Here I'm going to negate the Golden Lord. Doesn't matter. The thing is that I want to tribute my fusion away, send it to the graveyard so I can mill 5. And here, very cool, is totally awesome, is an Aqua type as well, if I'm not mistaken, so I can resend it back to the deck, the extra deck, right? So you only need to run one. I can use Bahamut Shark during my next turn. And again, you're playing during your opponent's turn, making sure that, you know, you're going for Reno Heart as well, the Trick Clown effect, when it's summoned Foolish Burial something, and that leads to another fusion summon. So it's kind of like you playing Shaddolls, but when you go for a free fusion summon with 2 Shaddolls, one of the Shaddolls always says that you can go for another fusion summon, if that makes sense. So basically everything for free. And speaking of Shaddolls, I'm tagging in one Shaddol Beast. It speaks for itself. It's again the potential Winda. You can go for Winda if you mill a Shaddol. I've seen builds playing more Shaddolls, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, you can't really capitalize on like playing Shaddol Fusion, for example, which is of course very strong, but there's just no space in the deck. Because I want to main some hand traps. Triple Nibiru, triple Droplet. That's it. So another example going first, again, you know, the Reno Heart, the Armageddonite of the deck. Polymerization is actually quite crucial. It's like going second, you can go for, what is it called, the Chimera one, the one that draws you cards plus pops cards from the opponent. Again, very strong. Plus, you can poly for, very similar to Prankets, for a second copy. You won't get the effect, but you want to have it on the field during your opponent's turn, because you want to again send it to the graveyard for the 5 free mills. Run into Nibiru. Okay, that's fine. I can still extend with a level 4, special summon, and then send a tier element monster, I believe, from your hand to the graveyard. Again, get some extra mills, right? But this is, again, even though I got Nibiru, this is again the setup I want. I want to have the level 5 fusion. When it's sent to the graveyard, I can mill 5 and potentially fusion summon during my opponent's turn if I mill any of the tier elements other than, you know, the water one, the Reno Heart. And I have my Selic, the continuous trap that, again, effect failures an opponent's monster. Plus, you know, by sending a tier element from your side of the field to the graveyard. So Cherubim hits the board, I want to negate that. So negate the effect, send the level 5 to the graveyard, mill 5, see Malicious, and let's meet, so mill the level 2 and the level 3. So that's 2 fusion summons for free. So I can go for the level 9 first, the one that, you know, sends something back, Phoenix Wing Blast something, plus it triggers a field spell as well, pop something once per turn, plus I can go for the Kid Kalos again, the level 5, searches something, or Foolish Burials something, very similar to Sword Soul. And because I milled Beast, you know, 1 draw, plus I can go for Winda. Winda. It's definitely one of those cards that, who knows, in the future it might eventually get the X. I mean, same for the Epcalone, you know, shenanigans, it's just not fair. If, you know, if you're honest, it's not fair. But, I mean, many things aren't fair. So again, use a field spell to pop something, Kid Kalos hits the field for a search, and that's, yeah, you know, GG, well played. Last example is going second, and as you saw, like triple Nibiru, triple Droplet. I don't feel I need to main Blossom, I guess you could, but the deck is somewhat fragile. I mean, it's not really the deck that you can main like 12 hand traps in. At least I feel it needs more testing. The cute gimmick here of the level 3 is that as soon as your opponent activates a monster effect on field, you can drop it from your hand, and when it's summoned, I believe it has a card trooper effect, so you can mill 3. And as you know, when any tier element is sent to the graveyard, it will become the polymerization. And very cool is that, because I was lucky, I milled the King of the Swamp, I can go for the Caliga, the invoked one that forces both players to only activate one monster effect for the turn. So that kind of forces your opponent to play or make awkward plays, if that makes sense. So again, I can capitalize on that. Again, some standard plays I have. No 2 waters, so Bahamut Shark into Toad is not the play, but Redoer, that's definitely a very important exceed as well, because as you know, when you detach one off of Redoer, it will count as, to activate a monster effect or send to the graveyard by card effect, so it could potentially trigger a fusion summon during your opponent's turn, as you'll be seeing. So Redoer is definitely very, very important to, again, potentially trigger your level 9 fusion, for example. Ecclesia is fine. On all the level 4s, monster effect is activated, going to negate it with the continuous trap, send the level 5 to the graveyard, mill 5, hopefully, get as many pluses as possible, only the trap, which that's the Book of Moon one, and get something back from the graveyard. So I need to use Redoer to, detach level 4, that, you will only get one effect, so not the Trick Clown effect, because again, it's not, sent to the graveyard by card effect, whatever. Go for the Fusion Summon, and, that just gets the ball rolling. Multiple pluses, make sure that you go for Rhino Heart, discard, keep extending your fusion plays. Go for Dragostaphilia to potentially get another monster effect negation, but here in this case, wasn't that important. Redoer returns, and that's, again, more than enough to attack for a game. Use a field spell for another search. Again, most of the time it will be your Rhino Heart, again, your Armageddonite of the deck, your Trick Clown of the deck. I have 2 waters, so that's eventually going to be Bahamut Shark. Another free fusion, why not? It's very similar to Prankits, just go for it every turn. I mean, you know what I mean. Get the free search plus a free 5 mil in a deck that abuses stuff like it's I mean, it's really scary. The past weeks, the new archetypes are really, really powerful, and same for this one. But it's not an easy deck to pick up. So again, all suggestions are definitely welcome. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Likem signing out. Peace.